Jealousy. She probably, if not, was the #1 hairstylist. I think that what I've been hearing is that she paid for the trip for some of her friends.
After months of speculation as to why Shanquella Robinson couldn't make it alive back home, a major breakthrough seems to have made its way to the media, which has left Cabo 6 wondering whether this is when they are finally going to be prosecuted for what they did to Robinson. Here are the details of it all. The death of Shanquella Robinson, a woman from North Carolina who was 25 years old and was on vacation with 6 of her friends in Cabo San Lucas in October, occurred at a resort in that very city. Even though the investigation into her death is ongoing, a civil rights activist who is assisting her family in the investigation feels that she was murdered out of jealousy. According to Barnett, what you're looking at is like a Jesus and Judas situation, some jealous friends. She paid for the majority of the trip from my understanding. She booked the villa and wanted her 6 friends to go and celebrate with her.
What you're looking at is like a Jesus and Judas situation, some jealous friends. She paid for the majority of the trip.
Not just this though, but Barnett also asserts, I want to tell President Joe Biden, I want Shanquella to be considered as your daughter, and what would you do if your daughter was beaten like this? I've been screaming Black Lives Matter for the last 17 years of my life. Now I'm screaming Black Lives Matter in Mexico, and it needs to end today. It was assumed that Robinson and her companions had spent the night before her death in the villa that they had hired to celebrate one of their birthdays. The part of the death certificate where the police may have documented any signs of drinking simply said person found unconscious in her living room. A video that surfaced after Robinson's passing allegedly shows her being battered in what looks like a hotel room. Yet the footage was found after Robinson's death. After taking several blows to the face and head though, she is ultimately flung to the ground by her neck. After that, it can be seen in the video that she takes a couple more blows, both punches and kicks. Meanwhile, the Robinson family was initially made to believe that Robinson passed away as a result of alcohol intoxication. However, the information on her death certificate indicates that she died as a result of serious injury to her spinal cord. Given this, a rally was conducted in February to demand additional information concerning Robinson's death, and demonstrators filled pink envelopes with messages to the Mexican government requesting them to take action. On the other hand, Jennifer Coffindeffer, who is now retired from the FBI, believes that the video proves beyond a reasonable doubt that Robinson was murdered. According to her statement, she believes, I would call it for sure manslaughter, would be the charges I would be looking at as an FBI agent. We don't know whether the intent or purpose was to kill her, but certainly the intent was to beat her. No doubt, the passing of Shanquella Robinson has left her family and friends inconsolable and looking for answers to their questions. Her family feels that she passed away as a result of alcohol poisoning, even though the cause of death on her death certificate is listed as a serious injury to the spinal cord.
Shanquella Robinson died after suffering a broken neck and severe spinal cord injury in Cabo last month, according to her death certificate.
On the other end, though, the civil rights activist who is working with Robinson's family feels that the murder of Robinson was motivated by jealousy, as Shanquella was not only financially stable, but she was one of the best hairstylists out there. And of course, this had led her so-called friends to resent her the way that they did. During this time, the authorities discussed the situation with the concierge as well to get more insight into what might have taken place on the morning of November 17, 2022. The concierge went on to say that she did not appear to fit in with the others. He also claimed she was indifferent, nothing to do with the atmosphere of celebration. She was out of place at the party. So, what does the family of Robinson think in the midst of all this? Well, as the video was made public again, it can also be witnessed that a friend of the deceased can be seen teasing Robinson by telling her that she should at least fight back when she was being tormented. Now, the most important bit of all this is that Dejani Jackson, Shanquella's alleged friend, has been identified as the lady who repeatedly beat her victim, Shanquella. Allegedly, the 6 companions who traveled with her on the vacation are also in the process of removing their identities from various social media platforms. However, in a letter that her family had written to Joe Biden seeking a truthful investigation, it is claimed that an autopsy report prepared on October 30, 2022 in Mexico by medical examiner Dr. Rene D'Alberto Galván Oscura noted that Shanquella's body had a head injury 3 and concluded that Shanquella's cause of death was a broken neck. Robinson's mother, Salamandra, has further expressed her frustration with the way the family was being misled by her friends. According to the mother of Shanquella, each one of the people that was there with her was telling different stories. They said she wasn't feeling well, she had alcohol poisoning, they couldn't get a pulse. They didn't call us until the very last minute, and then on top of that, they said the maid found her. No one told the same story, so I never believed them anyway. They said it was alcohol poisoning. We received the autopsy report on Thursday and it said that her neck had been broken and she had a back spasm, there was a crack. Spinal cord was cracked. That took it to a whole another level because that meant somebody had attacked her. And despite the fact that an autopsy suggests Robinson was the victim of terrible abuse, officials from the United States Department of State in Mexico have purportedly and bizarrely claimed that a police investigation did not show signs of foul play. Whereas others on social media have taken it upon themselves to share the names and images of persons who are said to have been with Robinson in Mexico at the time of her death, despite the fact that Robinson's friends have not been formally identified. There have been calls on social media for the friends to be arrested and charged for the alleged roles they played in Robinson's death. However, it is unclear whether or not this can even take place given that the friends are no longer in Mexico. In addition, a video that has been shared on social media purports to depict a man who claims he arrived in Cabo on his own, one day after Robinson and the other people had already arrived there. In the video, a male who has not been identified can be heard saying that he was told Robinson was suffering from alcohol poisoning and that he was unaware that there had even been a fight. So, what does Twitter say regarding Shanquella Robinson and her unfortunate death circumstances? Let's take a look out of the many who feel bereavement for Robinson and how she was beaten to death by none other than the people she called friends. One of those people has expressed on the social media website stating, "We will go wherever we have to go and demand everything we have to demand from whomever every day. Shanquella Robinson's life matters." Whereas Ben Crump has stated, "We have sent a letter to a POTUS and the U.S. Secretary of State detailing the circumstances surrounding Shanquella Robinson's death in Mexico and calling for diplomatic intervention. Inaction is not acceptable. Her family deserves swift justice." Not to mention, but another netizen has stated, "Damn, just realized Shanquella Robinson and them are from North Carolina too. From now on, if you are black and from North Carolina, don't even think about Mexico. How about that?" Having said all that though, could it mean that Shanquella's death wasn't just based on jealousy and resentment? Could it be femicide as some media outlets are reporting? The point is, according to CNN, the Federal Bureau of Investigation and prosecutors in Mexico are looking into the circumstances surrounding her murder and have issued an arrest warrant for femicide, which is another term for gender-based homicide. But what is femicide really? Femicide is distinguished from other types of murder in that it refers specifically to the killing of a woman for no other reason than the fact that she is a female. This suggests that the underlying causes of femicide are distinct from those of other types of murder and are connected to the position of women in general within society. Discrimination against women, gender roles, the unequal distribution of power between men and women, habitual gender stereotypes, prejudices, and violence against women. Whatever the actual reason may be, which time will reveal. On Twitter though, quite a lot of trending hashtags have been created ever since, and recordings of Robinson being beaten were extensively shared on other social media platforms. As a direct consequence of this, individuals from all around the world have been voicing their support for Robinson and requesting that the charges against her perpetrators be maintained as well as their proper prosecution be conducted. This attention from across the world paid to Robinson's case also attracted the attention of democratic organizations and human rights groups, who regarded her story as an illustration of the femicide and police violence that Black people endure in the United States. In order to show their support for Robinson and other victims of such brutality, these organizations have ever since staged demonstrations, rallies, and letter-writing campaigns.
Rock AME Zion Church to a local post office to mail hundreds of letters to Mexican authorities to demand justice for her death.
That's all for today. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Goodbye.